Hey there, Absolutely Gospel readers and fans and viewers. We are so excited to be here today for our industry insider profile. This week, we are talking to Les Butler. Les has been a friend of the site and the Unthank family for many years. And Les, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell people who you are, what you do, and maybe your history in the music, and then kind of what you're doing today.
Okay. Well, I started in Southern Gospel Radio the first weekend in October of 1978 in the Southern Gospel capital of America, Chicago, Illinois. And I was on there for 6 years to 1984. Moved to Orlando, was on the air there for quite a while. Been here in Nashville since '97. So anyway, this is 44 consecutive years of being on the air in Southern Gospel music. And even one step further, I've been on every week uninterrupted, including the time that I was in the hospital dying with COVID. But I had shows prepared in advance, not knowing why, but I look back now and I see why. And so they aired every week. And so that's a pretty amazing statistic. And I take no credit for it. I give God the glory for it. I mean, certainly I couldn't do something like that. And he's kept me healthy and plugged into this music for that long, and so I'm thankful for that. So I started in radio. I continue in radio today, but in addition to radio, I also I've produced this entire time, the 44 years. I've got a label, do radio promotion, kind of do some consulting work for some folks. I've hosted TV shows. I hosted the Southern Gospel Channel on Delta Airlines. I've done a bunch of stuff, and that's why I have very little hair on top. I keep taking one hat off and putting another hat on and taking it and so forth. Was the publisher of Singing News for several years. Ran the Solid Gospel Radio Network for almost 20 years. I'm missing some things, but those are probably the high points right there.
Sure, absolutely, and it's what the Les Butler that I was introduced to was, of course, the Solid Gospel DJ, and then also, I knew you as the Butler music guy or family music guy. When I was working as a publicist in the industry, I repped a couple artists that were on your label and that kind of thing. So, I've known that Les Butler has been involved in some way or another, in some fashion, for a long time in my 20 plus years. So to hear that it's been 44 consecutive years is an amazing statistic, and that you've been on the air all this time. It's really great. So tell us a little bit about, you currently run, of course, Butler Music Group and Family Music Group, and then you also have Real Southern Gospel Records as well. So tell us a little bit about the label and maybe some of the artists that you're getting to work with at the moment.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've had Butler Music Group and Family Music Group now for several years. In the last year or so, I've added the Real Southern Gospel label, which is part of an overall business that I call Real Southern Gospel. And I stole that terminology. I'm not smart enough to have thought that. But over the last several years, I've had many, many, many fans of traditional Southern Gospel music who would see me out maybe with the Old Time Preachers Quartet, which, by the way, I forgot that. I own it. I'm a baritone piano player for Old Time Preachers. But anyway, we would be out, or I'd be out preaching. Forgot that too. Have a revival coming up. Anyway, they would see me out and about, or know me from, Singing News and Solid Gospel. They've had my email address. We've communicated over the years. And I'm going to say hundreds. And honestly, I'm going to probably say in the four figures over a period of time, 5 or 6 years, that came up to me and said, "Man, Les, what's happened to Real Southern Gospel?" And as I would drill down with them, because that's the term they always used. So I'd say, what do you mean, Real Southern Gospel? And then they would detail what that is. And they were very consistent. And I'm talking about young people, old people, male, female, it didn't matter. Very consistent. The music like the Happy Goodmans, the Kingsmen, going back to the Blackwood Statesman days, even today with traditional artists that I know, because I hear them from you. So I know that they still produce traditional gospel music today, but I don't hear it on my local radio station. And that was the explanation from everybody every time. And so after a while, maybe I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I started figuring out, I think maybe there's something going on here. There's a group of people, I have no idea how small or large, but there's a group of people that really miss the traditional sounds of Southern gospel music. And so the seed came from those types of conversations. And then when I was in the hospital fighting COVID, and I do mean fighting COVID, had a doctor tell me I wouldn't be getting out of the hospital to go home, that is. And I always loved, whenever that would come up, I always loved to correct him and tell him, Doc, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I'm either going to Smyrna or I'm going to heaven, but Doc, I'm leaving here and I'm going home.
That's right.
Took it as an opportunity, to testify of God's goodness.
Yeah.
And so anyway, as I was in there fighting that, the Lord really dealt with me in a couple, three things in my life personally, one of which was prayer. And so anyway, in amongst all of the things that he was dealing with me that I could do better in my Christian walk, one of the other things that he was stirring my spirit about was taking this germ of an idea that I've been thinking about and really doing something with it. So I came out of the hospital the middle of December. I went in November, but I didn't get out of bed till March. Was on oxygen for 5 months, all of that. So finally, when I got cleared enough to be able to work a few hours every day and so forth, I started working on this idea. And so it started off with a radio station, a streaming station. I've got 3 stations talking to me now about putting it on their stick and having it be on their terrestrial station in their areas.
Awesome.
So we'll see where that goes. That may go somewhere, maybe not. But 3 that have approached me, I haven't approached anyone on this. I've been busy just trying to figure it out on my own to do my own station. But they've approached me. So anyway, started the radio station as a streaming station 24/7. And as part of the business plan, I've also included the possibility of doing an e-zine, which I'm not doing that. I've tweaked that, and that's something I'm not doing. Too much work, as you know.
Yes.
Way too much work for Brother Les. So anyway, we're doing a label, and one of the things that I'm doing events, and I'm doing it different than most everybody. Outside of the big boy events like National Quartet Convention, Myrtle Beach, those types of things. Bill Bailey, the big events. All the other events are, if you're an artist, you gotta pay the promoter to come in and to sing to their people, and you get a booth, all that kind of stuff. Right. I'm not doing that. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, but I've got 2 things already booked. The first one is September 30th in Manchester, Kentucky. It's an outdoor event, and I've plugged into an event that I've emceed for years, and they've allowed me to do the programming for the Friday night. It's a Friday-Saturday event in Manchester, Kentucky called Shaping Clay Jubilee. So Friday night is real Southern gospel night. And so I'm working with promoters in that fashion. I've got the Primitive Quartet as part of their retirement tour coming to Murfreesboro on March 10th of 2023. That's going to be a real Southern gospel event. So I'm just kind of sticking my toes in the water there. And then a booking agency is definitely in the business plan. And I thought it would be 2023, more likely 2024. And before it's really an official talent agency, it will be 2023. But I'm already booking some of the artists that I work with through the label. Sure. And some of the artists that I don't have any kind of relationship with, other than I play them on the air, but I'm getting pastors and event coordinators contacting me saying, I keep hearing this group. I'd like to book them, and so I'm starting to facilitate that for multiple artists. Yeah. So that's the real Southern gospel business: the radio station, the label, events, and the talent agency.
Wow.
And it has taken off far beyond where I thought I would be just, what is August? It's 7 months into it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely just speechless about all of it. So my gut, I guess, was right. I thought that I thought more than just a few people, but maybe even a significant number of people that really were missing hearing the Happy Goodmans, Kingsmen, Blackwoods, and similar groups that are doing it today and doing it with excellence, such as the Williamsons. That's a perfect example, who's on my label. They do it with excellence, very traditional.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's Chris, I'm blown away. I'm very thankful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I keep getting emails and that kind of stuff, and I see, man, he's plugged into something that's working. Of course, our stance at AGM has always been a wide open. We're going to accept everybody and talk about everybody, but we also need people like you who will like drill into something and really promote it, because it's still there. It still has an audience, and still has a great presence in the industry. And so, we need everybody working together to help promote the business. And so, I love it. I applaud it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And and thank you for doing the kind of stuff you do. And by the way, I really do want to add this. Through Butler Music Group and Family Music Group, I produce everything.
Sure.
Man, it's just not about the traditional stuff. My business in the category of real is about the traditional stuff.
Right.
But for example, I just finished producing an album on Riley Dotson. Do you know Riley?
I don't.
Okay, he was with Carolina for several
Okay.
years. It could be the best album I've ever been a part of. And it's not traditional. It has some traditional songs in it, but I mean, you talk about wide. It's as wide can get. It goes as far east and west as can possibly be. And honestly, I think it's maybe the best album I've ever produced in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so our companies, our multiple companies, we do all of the above. And I work through radio promotion with radio stations that play more of what I call today's Southern gospel music versus the traditional stuff. Man, they do it with excellence. We support them. We send them new music that fits what they do.
Sure.
We do everything we can corporately to support them.
Yeah.
DJs that do it with excellence, and they do it all. So this isn't like a me against them kind of thing.
Right.
It just isn't. I don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we support them, and my company actually works in that arena.
Sure.
It's just in another division, and we have another and a different focus for that. So
I see it as more as like, it's not, like you said, it's not a me versus them. I see it as Les is doing his job to preserve this kind of style within us. But as a producer, I've always noticed, Les has got a great ear for country and a great ear for bluegrass, which, you did front porch fellowship for many years, was your baby. And so you've always kind of helped promote that as well. So, by no means have I ever thought this is just Les wanting to go against the grain and that kind of thing. It was just, let's do everything we have. We do have a pretty wide genre of music. Let's do it all with excellence, And so that's what I love about it. So tell us a little bit about your producing. Like I said, Williamson's new record is fantastic. I just got to talk to them. They'll have an interview coming up on the site pretty soon. And I told Lisa, I was like, she's one of those people that I put in the category of Southern Gospel's great best kept secret, as a songwriter and a vocalist, and so tell us a little bit about production and kind of that process for you, how that works.
First, let me say I agree with your comment about Lisa Williamson. She's just a wow gal.
Yeah.
Everything she does is wow. Singing, wow. Writing, wow. Even musically playing, she's a great instrumentalist. So I agree. I produce everything, man. I do. I've got 2 or 3 bluegrass artists that I think are as good as they get. I mean, Heaven's Mountain Band, 10 consecutive #1 songs in the Singing News Bluegrass Gospel chart. Bama Bluegrass, they're fantastic. You just got to listen to the records to get it. And then I stumbled upon this husband and wife team that I just signed to Family Music Group Bluegrass, the McBrides. Oh my, she's come out of the gate. I think she's like 22 or 23. To me, she's somewhere close to a Rodney Griffin, not quite up to a Bill and Gloria Gaither kind of thing, kind of writer. She's blowing me away with her very first songs out of the gate. So yeah, I produce bluegrass, and when you produce that, you gotta have kind of a different sort of hat on than a Southern gospel hat. There's a different pool of writers that I go to, a different pool of publishers, a different pool of players. So you've got it depending on the style. I've got the Southern gospel style, the country gospel style, Southern gospel style, and I've got a pool of all of the above that play in each of those pools, and I go to them when it's time to produce. But I'm not going to do it if I can't do it with the utmost excellence. I'm talking about multi-award winning writers and publishers, multi-award winning Dove Grammy award winning musicians, engineers, studios, all of that. And I hope it comes out in the final product of what you hear. But that's how I approach producing. And I also pitch a lot of songs to artists. I mean, an overwhelming amount of songs, hundreds of songs per album. And many of them are from writers that they probably have never heard of before, but doing it 44 plus years, especially, the Lord, for whatever reason, has allowed me to be in some of the more higher profile things, publishers, singing news and running solid gospel and all that. So people have heard me and seen me and known me for decades. And so they come to me with everything. And that includes writers, and that includes amateur writers. And a lot of the stuff that I get, it's amateur writing, and they need to keep working at the craft. But I'm telling you, I get some nuggets of gold from people that are never heard of. That's really quite amazing. And so I will send that out to the artists that I'm working with, if whatever song fits their style and so forth, as well as all of the big boys, all of the big publishing companies, the Day Winds and so forth. And then from all of that, we get, we'll get maybe 20 songs, and then we'll get together and start culling them down. I always want to vary the tempos, vary the time signatures. You don't want all fast 4/4. You don't want all big ballads. You don't want all 3/4 6/8. You have to vary all of that stuff to make an album be pleasing for someone to want to hear from beginning to end. And so there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle you have to address when you're producing an album, but that's how I approach it.
Oh, that's great. I do want to talk a little bit about COVID. I know you experienced the really harsher side of it. We've lost some amazing people through this trial, including my dad and Jeff Stice and Aaron Wilburn.
Yes.
We've lost some fantastic people.
Yes.
And so, but I feel like we're finally walking out of what was a pretty dark time for the world and for our industry. And so I want to hear from you, kind of like, because I've been asking everybody this: how has COVID shifted your way of doing business, or your way of seeing things differently? Have things changed for you, or are you just kind of doing business as usual? Everybody's story is a little different. And so I want to hear from you kind of as we're walking out of this, and maybe where you see things going from here.
Well, I'll start from the personal side. Like I said, the Lord was dealing with me in a personal way as I'm laying there in that bed, not being able to breathe for myself, being told I'm going to die. And so through that process, one of the things that impacted me personally was my prayer life. And not just praying there, praying that God would get me out of the mess that I was in. He wasn't dealing with me about the immediate prayer, my immediate need. It was how I've prayed in the past and how I need to pray moving forward, not at that time, but going forward.
Sure.
And that is, it's not that I didn't pray. It's not that I didn't pray every day. It's not that I didn't pray sincerely, but it was more of a getting a hold of the horns of the altar of God and crying out to God and getting serious, more serious than I've ever been in my Christian walk. And so personally, I took that away from my
Sure.
experience. Corporately, with the Old Time Preachers Quartet, as every group, we stopped. You know,
Yeah.
I stopped longer than most because of my issue. But the group stopped, we stopped, and when we fired back up, the things that were happening as COVID started to wane a little bit, and some events and things started to come back, there were fewer singings, concerts, that kind of thing, but churches opening up for, a night or two of revival, that kind of thing. And
Mhm.
so from that, the uniqueness of our group is that we're all preachers. That's one of the things. So that came back for us individually before the singing group stuff started to come back. But that came back so well that the guys started preaching more than they have before. And
Wow.
so that impacted the number of days we could do as a group. And so Mike Holcomb got very busy. And so he's now just preaching. So now we're to a trio. And because of our personal schedules now, we do very few dates, but we're all okay with that.
Yeah.
That's not an issue at all with us. We went from the year of COVID, we had 120 or 125 anyway, dates on the books. And we'll probably do 20 now, 20 a year.
Yeah.
And as a group. Now,
Right.
individually, like I said, tomorrow night and Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, I'm preaching a revival in Lebanon, and so forth. So we're all doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's always interesting to hear everybody's take on kind of how things have changed and where they see things going in the future. And you guys, what makes old time preacher so interesting is that you do have this other side of your ministry. It's not just singing, right? It's not
Yeah.
just gospel in the song; it's the gospel through preaching as well. And so
Yeah.
it's opened that door. And Donnie Williamson of the Williamsons, it opened up a door for him to be a pastor.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to see how things have changed, but also the adaptation of the world, and it's changing as well. And so I just like to always hear that side of things. So before we go, you probably touched on it a little bit, and it's probably the same exact answer that you gave before. But in my 20 plus years of covering Christian music as a whole, I always ask the same question with every interview, and that's, what is God teaching you at this moment?
Patience, personally as well as corporately. And he started working on the patience thing. Again, when you're laying on your back and can't do anything, patience is a big thing.
Right.
That's really the kind of the biggest thing going on in your life is trying to wrestle down patience. Because I wanted to, and anybody that knows me, I mean, I work every day, long days, have my entire career. It's how I'm built. And so to be just laid out and doing nothing, believe me, the Lord was working on patience for me. And I've got some, as we all do, personally and in our families and in our community of friends, things going on there that concern us all individually. And I've got the same things, and I'm learning patience through that personally. And then corporately, with especially with what we've been doing with the real Southern gospel stuff, I'm learning patience there, because there's things coming at me so fast that I can't deal with it. It's coming at me so quickly that I've got to be patient as I'm seeing these things coming, knowing that I should be doing something about that and with that. But because midnight just hit and another day started, I can't, because I've run out of hours. So corporately, it's also patient. So personally and corporately, for me, I think the Lord is definitely working on patience.
Well, that's great. It's always fun to hear what everybody is learning, and what they're walking through. Because it can encourage somebody else. And even if it's not now, if I'm not dealing with patience now, I might remember something you said 6 months down the road where the Lord is nudging me in that way. And so
Sure.
it's fantastic to hear how God is using all of us through this time. So in the meantime, before we let you go, we want to know, where can people hear the radio station? Where can they buy the music that you're producing? So fill us in on that kind of stuff.
Okay. They can download it anywhere that they download anything. I mean, I'm in all the stores, Google Play, Apple, all that kind of stuff. And it's got, I wish I had one with me, but it's got a red logo. It's a circle. It says Real Southern Gospel Radio in gold print. And so that's what it looks like. You download it anywhere. You can go to realsoutherngospel.com. It streams there. So if you're at work, want to pull it up on your computer, you can do that as well. You can contact me. Info.
Good. Repeat that again, because I think we paused a little bit there on the screen. Can you repeat that for us? Yeah.
Yeah. Can I give contact info?
Yeah. Do that one more time. Yeah.
Okay. For the you can go to realsoutherngospel.com to hear the stream. Download the stream. Excuse me, at any of your stores. My email address is les@butlermusicgroup.com. You can go to butlermusicgroup.com and look at some of our audio product CDs and so forth. At the realsoutherngospel.com site, I've got mugs, Live with Les. Forgot to say that. Also do that. At least once a week, I'll go on Facebook and YouTube and do a social media show, Live with Les, Southern Gospel Music, Memorabilia, Memories, and Ministry. Last night I did it on the SGMA Hall of Fame nominees inductees for 2022, and I had them all on. Had Barry Rowland on in place of his mother, Kyla Faye Rowland. And so I do that every week as well. But if you go to realsoutherngospel.com and go to that store, I've got mugs that have Live with Les mugs, Real Southern Gospel mugs, and a t-shirt that probably makes some people mad. And I didn't mean to do it to make them mad. It's just a fun t-shirt, making Real Southern Gospel great again. And so anyway, those t-shirts are there, and that's how you can contact me. Go to any of those websites. You had mentioned earlier, and so can I cycle back on one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Feel free.
Artists that I work with on the Family Music Group label, Old Time Preachers. I do solo stuff as well, and Heart to Heart. And then on the Real Southern Gospel side, well, the bluegrass side, Heaven's Mountain Band, McBride Family, and then Bama Bluegrass is on Butler Music Group. And then the Real Southern Gospel, the Williamsons. And I've signed Fields of Grace. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but love them. And the Inspirationals Quartet. Now, we haven't produced, I'm in the middle of the production for the Inspirationals Quartet from Fort Worth, Texas. They have, you remember, of course, Lou Wills Hildreth. Well, this is the Wills family. And they've been doing it for, I think, 60 some years, and it's been a long time though, and so we're bringing them back, and we're not sure with them and Fields of Grace if it's going to land on Real or Family Music Group.
Sure.
Inspirationals looks like it's not going to be on the Real label. It's going to be more of a mix of traditional and today's Southern Gospel. So it looks like that's Family Music Group. And Fields of Grace is probably going to land on the Real label. But we have signed them. We're going to place them where they need to be.
Sure.
With the music that we produce for this time for them, and the feel and the style and how it's going to end up will dictate which label they'll be on. But it'll be on one of those two labels with me. Sure. And boy, I don't think I'm missing anybody. I sure hope I'm not.
That's okay. If you do, I think they'll forgive you. It's not a big deal. So,
well, I hope so. And we've got a bunch of up and coming artists that I work with through Butler Music Group, Paul Boland, Chelsea Estes, and I could go on there. I've a bunch of great folks. Man, let me tell you, the Lord has blessed me with unbelievable talent that just blows me away. And honestly, I would put any of them up against anybody that you see in the top 10 of any chart from the largest labels, toe to toe. Their albums, their personal ministry, and just their raw singing ability.
Sure.
Put them against anybody.
Well, that's great. Great. Well, Les, it's been awesome catching up with you. And it's been a few years since we've gotten to sit down and talk. So it's been great finally getting to hear everything that's going well, and health wise, it's fantastic to know that you're doing well again. So
Yes,
we will
thank
continue to plug Real Southern Gospel on Absolutely Gospel, and
Thank you.
you know, we're in this together, and we're excited to
Yes.
continue working hand in hand to promote the best music in the world. So
I agree with
thank,
that.
thanks so much, Les. You have a great day, and
Thank you.
you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and check out Real Southern Gospel. Thanks, Les.
Thank you. Thank you.